Good morning, members of the press. We in the United Progressive People, UPP, vehemently oppose the proposition by the Lusaka City Council to introduce levies on talk time for garbage collection. Zambians cannot continue to fund the PF corruption which has become endemic in our country. The people of Zambia are already overburdened with not only high, but also more taxes, contrary to the PF manifesto of low taxes, more jobs, and more money in your pockets. Apart from pay as UN, Zambians continue to pay consumer taxes from everything they buy: fuel levies, toll fees, and land rates, property taxes, training levies, parking levies, market levies, service fees, too numerous, but only a few to mention. The hostile tax regime has impoverished many families in face of the reduced purchasing power of the kwacha and the rising prices of essential commodities. Utility bills such as electricity and water continue to rise, with the net effect being empty pockets for many people. Simply put, the PF leaders have placed the burdens on the poor people of Zambia. The new culture of taxing citizens to sustain luxurious lifestyle of PF government leaders must be viewed as an abuse of citizens. Zambians cannot continue to subsidize corruption. We in the UPP are thunderstruck that apart from the numerous burdens that central government has continued to put on the poor, local authorities have also joined the bandwagon of milking every trace of money from the pockets of the people. The Lusaka City Council must concentrate on eliminating corruption in its ranks, and priority attention must be given to the outdoor advertising sector. All local authorities across Zambia must follow suit. UPP has consistently appealed to the Lusaka City Council to take practical steps to stop acts of economic sabotage through money laundering and massive corrupt practices in the outdoor advertising sector. We note with concern that there is one presidential aide in the public relations unit of State House who has been aiding corruption by being a conduit through which money launderers and corrupt elements have laid a siege on the operations of the Lusaka City Council and the entire outdoor advertising industry. After several public statements on the saga, UPP extended investigations to South Africa in order to have a full understanding on the whole syndicate, and we wish to factually state that whereas there is a state capture through Chinese monopoly at national level, there are few unscrupulous individuals, names of course will be submitted to the DEC and the ACC, and Lamise Advertising Limited, who have placed the entire Lusaka City Council under corporate capture. We now present our findings as follows. 1. Sale of Lamise Advertising Limited to Prime Media. The information before us shows that Lamise Advertising Company was sold to Prime Media about 4 years ago at an estimated cost of 10 million United States dollars. The following questions beg for answers. How has the company, which was sold and now under Prime Media Advertising of South Africa, continued to get contracts from the Lusaka City Council under the same trading name? How and why has the Lusaka City Council awarded a 7-year lease agreement to Lamise Advertising when it is now under Prime Media? Why has the Lusaka City Council awarded a lease to Lamise with a 3-year period of exemption from paying applicable fees? Why has the Lusaka City Council given Prime Media a deal to pay reduced fees for every first 300 billboards erected in the city against the set standard fees and conditions set out by the council itself. In order to help the people of Zambia to get answers, UPP shall, in the next 24 hours, submit a dossier with evidence to the Anti-Money Laundering Unit of the Drug Enforcement Commission. We shall also submit to the SEC matters that involve corrupt practices at the Lusaka City Council. We want the DEC to confirm our investigations by contacting Prime Media South Africa to further inquire on the 7-year lease agreement to Lamisa and find out how much Lamisa Advertising Company was sold to them. They must also ascertain whether or not there is an official letter of sale. Further, the Drug Enforcement Commission must report to the people whether or not Lamisa Advertising declared the correct proceeds from the sale and paid the taxes that are due to the Treasury. We also want to know if Lamisa Advertising paid the Competition Commission tax, CCT. More especially that, to our information, they have the CCT certificate in respect of the same transaction. We demand that Prime Media South Africa must provide authentic documents on this transaction as obtained from Lamisa Advertising Company at the point of sale, including audited financial reports to determine their true financial standing. DEC must immediately engage the services of the international police and other anti-money laundering networks at international level to establish whether or not the funds were wired into a Zambian account or offshore. Clearly, senior officials at the Lusaka City Council must explain to the people of Zambia why they have allowed Lamisa Advertising to get a blank check to do as they wish. 2, issues surrounding Alliance Media. In another development, the roundabout billboards erected by Lamisa Advertising during elections are said to have been sold to Alliance Media at an estimated cost of $1 million United States dollars. This can be confirmed by Alliance Media South Africa through their chairperson. The interest in this transaction is whether or not Lamisa Advertising declared this deal for tax purposes and paid the CCT. However, findings point to the contrary on the availability of documents at the time of bank account name change. It was revealed during our investigations that a director, whose name we have included in the dossier, which shall be submitted to the DEC and SEC, directed the accountant to facilitate the change of account name without proper documents and later on without following procedure. We challenge the controlling officer of the Lusaka City Council, who is the town clerk, to explain to the people of Zambia why corporate capture has flourished at the hands of individuals who are connected to Lamisa Advertising in collusion with senior council officials who are accomplices to this organized crime of economic sabotage. 3, Grand Media lease. Our investigations reveal that one of the directors at the Lusaka City Council, the name, of course, is in the main dossier, which is going to the DEC and SEC, facilitated the deal which gave Grand Media the rights to mount bus stop shelters around Lusaka City, which now contain adverts. It is difficult to account for the benefits to the council from this project, despite the council having the capacity either to contract a credible company to do this project and generate money from the adverts on these shelters. The council decided to lose revenue from the between 200 and 250 shelters being mounted by Grand Media. Our evidence shows that if well measured and priced correctly, the council can collect enough revenue from Grand Media, which now charges between 1,800 kwacha and 2,500 kwacha per month per advert placed on these shelters to clients. Now you can imagine, if there are 10, an advert on a shelter, we are talking about more than 25,000 kwacha per month. And then we also have those other bigger billboards that go for 80,000 kwacha per site per month. Now look at all these amounts. So you are talking about an industry which can generate over $100 million. And therefore we do not expect the Lusaka City Council, and the government to continuously place the burdens on the people of Zambia. Since September 2016, the shelters are full of adverts. Additionally, according to the signed lease agreement with the council, Grand Media is mounting these shelters and is being exempted from paying any fees to the council, at least for now. Devastatingly, the mounted shelters are of poor quality. We believe that if LCC did an open tender, it would have made more revenue out of this project, unlike now when it is not reaping anything. We also note that Grand Media has been mounting a number of illegal billboards on Cairo, Great East Road, and Addis Ababa, while the council is just watching without penalizing the culprits. 4. AXXEZ advertising historic illegalities. This company is writing on a letter purportedly written by the immediate past PF Secretary General, Mr. Davis Chama, during the 2016 elections when it was given the tender to mount more than 500 illegal campaign billboards for President Edgar Chagwa and the PF. This letter is now being used to solicit advertising businesses and threatening business houses who refuse to give the company the business of being reported to higher authorities. The council has lost revenue from this deal, which was not approved by it, hence no fees were paid to the council. It charges clients, that is AXXEZ, about 300 kwacha per advert, which is below the standard price of the council. And this is because they have historically not been paying the fees that they must pay. So they charge below the market in order to launder more money from the advertising industry. AXXEZ places adverts anywhere and everywhere, leading to the destruction of the city's aesthetic value. Also of interest is how Zamat, XXEZ, and Grand Media have been offering billboards to different clients without the council noticing this. Look at some of the sites, you find that others, even the Road Development Agency has allowed this, the advertising, without following procedure. And then apart from that, the law requires that every billboard be placed at least 2 meters high, starting from 2 meters high. This is not being followed at all. And when you look at some of the streets, these illegal billboards, which are making the city dirty, are obstructing motorists. They can't even have a clear view. You have one side which is given to one probably company, and then you find that several others, they go to mount illegal billboards there. This is not the way outdoor advertising is done everywhere. Those are revenues that are being lost by the Lusaka City Council. 5. Lusaka City Council corporate capture and maladministration. According to our investigations, Lamise Advertising was awarded a contract to erect advertising billboards, that is, structures around the city's roundabouts for President Edgar Chagwa and the ruling Patriotic Front during the 2016 general elections. These billboard structures, those which are tower-like, when you look at them, tower-like, were supposed to have been brought down after the elections. But new adverts are being put on these structures on account that Lamise allegedly got this tender with the help of State House. The council seems to have challenges to bring down these structures, hence they are standing to date without the council collecting what is due to the people of Zambia. And the other thing that I want to add is that you will notice that there are some sections along the roads, not just in Lusaka. Now this has also gone to Ndola and other local authorities. What they do is that they will put a small billboard or mupis, as they call them, of President Edgar Chagwa campaign style. And then they will put these other big billboards. So meaning that the Lusaka City Council officials cannot enforce the law, because when they find that an erring company has put a small mupi or small billboard for President Edgar Chagwa, it will paint a picture as if that what they are doing has a stamp of approval by the Patriotic Front and indeed State House itself and the President himself. So the President must clear his name. The question that begs an answer is whether or not the senior officials at the Lusaka City Council are not aware, or they are accomplices to denying the council and the people of Zambia and the residents of Lusaka, the great city of Lusaka, the necessary revenue hiding behind the name of the president when their agenda may be far from that of the president himself. UPP is still trying to establish whether or not President Edgar Chabalungu, his aides, and also the PF Secretary General, Mr. Davis Mwila, are aware of people who are using their names for their selfish motives. The Lusaka City Council must explain to the nation and the residents of Lusaka how Lamisa Advertising was awarded a 7-year lease agreement to erect billboard structures around the city of Lusaka, and whether or not tender procedures were adhered to. In addition, Lamisa Advertising in the previous years, around 2013, was awarded a 10-year lease agreement and enjoyed an exemption of a 3-year free services for 3 years, free services, free advertising services. As Lamisa Advertising fully paid the fees that the Lusaka City Council was entitled to since the company was sold to Prime Media 4 years ago. And you see, when you go to the Lusaka City Council, to just give you a glimpse of the amount of evidence that we have collected, documents and several other key pieces of evidence. When you look at this advert, which is entered into between the Lusaka City Council and Lamisa Advertising. So these agreements, you find that they are not placed actually in a position where the public can actually access them. They hide them. They shroud them in secrecy for corrupt purposes. Now UPP has managed to get all these agreements, which are totally illegal, agreements that are facilitating money laundering, among other corrupt practices in Zambia. And you find that when you look at some of the clauses, look, like clause 1.5, which says to enjoy free rent for the first 3 years of the term of the lease hereby created, so as to contain the capital, so as to contain the capital invested in the project. Which capital has been invested? We are just signing the agreement, and we are talking about exempting a company for a period of 3 years. And now you want to go to the people of Zambia to ask them that they must be subsidizing corruption from their airtime, just because each and every citizen wants to buy airtime to communicate. So you want to abuse the people of Zambia, to take advantage of the situation when you have useless agreements such as this one. This is what we are talking about exactly. In a country which is so rich, a council that can generate millions of dollars to create jobs for young people and be able to collect garbage. And after all, that garbage you are seeing is money. Go to other countries. They recycle that garbage. And jobs are created for young people. Go to Ghana. Ghana is among the African countries that have led the way in demonstrating that garbage can be a source of revenue. And it's a very big industry which can help to create jobs for many young people who are not in employment. But this is what corruption has actually done. This is the cost of corruption. That's why UPP is very firm on the corruption of the PF. Our investigations also revealed that the same mafias threatened the Lusaka City Council town clerk with unspecified actions if he blocked them from signing the 7-year lease agreement on the erection of billboard structures in Lusaka, when the high authority, as they put it, inverted commas, and those connected to it have already okayed the lease agreement on the project. We challenge the town clerk to refute these allegations. The question that must be asked is, why is the council proposing to introduce a 1% airtime levy on all mobile subscribers to go towards garbage collections when there is uncollected revenue from the billboard advertising sector? To this effect, there is no need for the Lusaka City Council to ever go ahead with that kind of proposition. The people of Zambia cannot continue to finance corruption. They want to collect from the poor people, because even the poorest of the poor, these days they want to have a mobile phone so that they are able to do business, so that they are able to communicate for business purposes. So we are now asking the Drug Enforcement Commission, that is the Anti-Money Laundering Unit, together with the ACC to take up this case, as we shall forward these details to them in the next 24 hours. Thank you. Any questions?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine is, I think I work from